What's going on, everybody? This is Clyde and Fair. Let's talk about BattleBit Remastered Testing Edition. This game has been on my radar for a couple of months now since Sour has been hounding me about it. And for those of you that aren't familiar with the channel, Sour is one of my friends that I do a lot of co-op runs with in my live streams, and he's been hounding me about it and I needed to check it out. So what do? I go and join in these live tests, stress tests essentially, because I like breaking things. For those of you that are new to the channel, I am a quality analyst when it comes down to software, and breaking things is quite literally my job. So I like to break stuff. I decided to see how stable this game is and how balanced it is. Let's talk about what I found out. First things first, this game, core concept game loop wise, is essentially a low poly voxel version of Battlefield, which is okay. It's an interesting design choice, but obviously it's working because people are enjoying it and they are playing it. I'm not sure how much they're going to charge, if they are going to charge or anything like that. I don't know their business model, but game concept wise, I understand it and I can get behind it. And the overall core loop is quite literally just a domination game style with up to over 250 players in a match. There are 3 different match types. You can have up to, I think, 254 players, and then it scales down from there to more manageable 60v60s or 64 versus 64, then like 30v30 or 32v32. Anyway, that's a lot of players on these maps, and these maps, they're not necessarily small, but some of them are pretty small, and it becomes pretty chaotic. The good news is time to kill is pretty low, so it ends up turning into an arcade shooter, which is fun for the most part. For me, it's fun for a bit, but not for a really long time, because I really like slow gameplay when it comes down to shooters. I like Hell Let Loose, Squad, Arma, where it can be fast paced, but for the most part, it's more slower, methodical, more tactical. So needless to say, it's not necessarily my cup of tea, but it is still fun. And that's saying something, considering I refuse to touch COD or Fortnite or Valorant or CSGO or anything like that anymore. So this is fun. Take it with a grain of salt. Moving on from core game concepts, we're going to talk about the overall content, right? So obviously you have infantry, boots on the ground, with your standard classes of squad lead, assault, medic, engineer, support, and recon, all of which have different available guns that they can use, level up, and customize with various attachments to change recoil, sights, laser attachments. There's a lot of stuff. Camouflage, they've got the basics. And while every class essentially is unique in its own way with its own customization, there are a few that feel a little lackluster, such as support or assault. I feel like those are the weakest classes in my opinion, just due to weapon spread. But I'm not going to dig too much into that because that can always be changed in balancing. For the most part, since all the guns are fairly balanced, there's a couple outliers. I'm looking at you, AS Val, but minus the outliers, the guns are all pretty balanced for the most part, and they feel good. They don't feel amazing, but they do feel good. I would put the gunplay somewhere between Apex Legends and, I don't know, Tarkov-ish. It's much better than what Battlefield is. It's much better than what Call of Duty is. It feels nice. It's just not like real. And you'll understand what I mean if you ever hop into the shooting range and just take a look at how the guns work. And that being said, though, my biggest complaint gunplay wise would be for the snipers. They took a big key factor from Battlefield where the sniper bullets arc quite a bit over just 100, 200 meters, right? Except they made the bullet travel time incredibly slow and players move faster, so it's really hard to hit shots. Very rewarding. I still main recon and snipe quite a bit because I enjoy it, but holy crap, tweak it just a little bit, please, just a little bit. Anyway, moving on from infantry, we've got the vehicles. We're going to cover the vehicles. There's Humvees, ATVs, jet skis, boats, APCs, Humvees with 50 cals on them, you name it, we got it. We got a couple tanks in there, pretty fun. I noticed that there are too many transport vehicles in comparison to vehicles that have weaponry on them, and this is because people obviously don't want to just main using producing nothing but vehicles that are armored, but there is always like 20 Humvees that have no 50 cals attached to them, or even ones with 50 cals attached to them sitting in bases and spawns, and they respawn all the time. So there ends up being a ton of excess vehicles that quite frankly just don't even need to be in there, and it's adding an extra strain to the game, and it's reducing performance. I can't feel it as a player, but I know it's happening in the background because what I know professionally and how software works. So if we could cut some of that excess out, we might see minor improvements to actual connectivity and gameplay wise, but that's just something that I'm nitpicking on. Moving on from the ground vehicles, we have helicopters. Helicopters were recently added. When they were first implemented, they were terrible, and not necessarily flight pattern wise, but they destroyed the performance of the game. They have gotten past that with some hot patches, and it's doing great so far. I still have my own issues with the helicopter. One, I can't fly them very well, but that's because I'm not allowed to fly or drive in most games I play. And not to mention, I don't like not having parachutes for units, which is what it is, but the deployment ropes just don't feel right as a person who's trying to go up or down deployment ropes to get on or off the helicopter. These things are meant to be transport vehicles, and since they're not combat focused, they are pretty slow. They're huge targets because people are going to be shooting at them from across the entire map, especially with how many people there are on the map. And with all of the 50 cal mounted Humvees and all of the vehicles that have large caliber rounds, as well as all the players, there needs to be a quicker way to use it as transport. Otherwise, helicopters just feel kind of like a waste. They're just not quite tuned the way I would like to see them. That being said, they're new-ish. They've only been in the game for a week. I'm sure that they're going to tweak it later. And all things considered, guys, like, the game's fast-paced, but it's fun, and I've been enjoying it. I'm not really a huge fan of this necessarily niche of shooters, but it still is enjoyable, and I find myself hopping on every single playtest because I want to see what's new and I want to play the game. So maybe that will entice you to at least try it out once or twice and just see what's up. And especially since it's free, I mean, it's not a bad deal. That being said, though, guys, once this game comes out and all the actual information that I can possibly get on it is released, I will make a regular review video instead of just talking about the early access testing, stress testing of this game, and we'll be able to really nitpick it and see if it's worth, investing in. Anyway, guys, if you enjoyed this content, want to see more videos such as this, like the video, drop a comment, make that number go up, and until next time, have a good one.